Lord, do we need patience, right? And patience with our kids, patience at work. We just earlier
Loads of
before we got
that
on this
too.
call talked about patience,
Yeah.
on the calls that we get sometimes. No, I love that. I love that you've been able to do what you love for all these years and still be an amazing mom and lead others, more importantly. When you think about just your leadership style and what wins, right? Because I can imagine that you have a staff that loves to stay around, and it's because of good leadership. What is that leadership style?
For me, it's really foundation of connection. We work in human services, and that's just not about the
Mhm.
people that we serve, but that extends to my colleagues and other folks that I work with, and really about knowing the people, who the person is, their likes, dislikes, preferences, but also being a servant leader. Not, I don't like to ask folks to do things that I wouldn't do myself.
Mhm.
We work in a field that requires a lot of emotional labor, and so being able to pour into others and show people how to take meaningful rest and pour into themselves is really important in providing strong services to others who may be in need.
I love that. And you've been doing some amazing things, but we also talked about some of the challenges that come with that as well, which is those tight systems and the tight funding. How do you make it work when you're innovating in this industry?
It can definitely be a challenge. We work in a field where we really want to be innovative and forward
Hmm.
thinking, but some of the systems that we work within, whether it's for funding or for compliance, can sometimes be a little bit more rigid. That can make it difficult to be creative and try new things because you still have to meet specific standards or bill things in a certain way. And so we try to strike a good balance. One of the strengths of Opportunity Village is really a diversity in funding so that we have some flexibility in how we can serve folks and fund things in different ways, which really is helpful for us because if we could only rely on rigid systems, we would be much further behind than we are
Yeah.
now. And it also helps us be sustainable. To OV's credit, they've been around over 70 years, which is really incredible for a service provider um, in a town like Las
Yeah.
Vegas.
I can imagine you've also have some success stories that are your favorites. You mentioned some before, the stop motion
Yeah.
and animation project, I believe, or the Amanda Show one. Can we talk about some of your favorites so people can really see some of the things that's happening on the back end?
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's 1 million stories I could think of that just bring so much joy and such a smile to my face. But there have been a really few cool projects lately. You mentioned the stop motion. That one has been really incredible. We have a really great art mentor who sparked an interest in some participants to dive into stop motion animation, and they created their first film, which was completely handmade from the clay characters to the backdrop, the voiceover, all of it. It was
Wow.
so incredible, and they took so much pride and joy in that project. And we've also had opportunities to chase personal passions. We have a person served who's really interested in being a future talk show host. And so the Amanda Show was an opportunity for her to film and interview other person served that she works with and staff and get a taste of what it's like to be in the host seat.
I love that. That's exciting stuff. I mean, these are individuals that people used to just look past, but now these individuals are in our world, working alongside us. I've seen so many different organizations that are creating more opportunities for these individuals, and it's just amazing that you yourself are so even before having kids still had this passion, right? You mentioned I was a 15-year-old young girl that just had this passion, this drive, and you'll continue to have this passion and drive, forever. So just kudos to you for doing what you do. And I think all this happens when we talk about organizations and nonprofits. It doesn't just happen by funding; it happens through partnerships. You guys have some amazing partnerships that you guys mentioned in Vegas. Could we talk a little bit about partnership and why that is so important in building an organization, staying around for 70 plus years?
Yeah, I mean, not to be cliche, but it does take a village, quite literally, in the sense that having those community partnerships helps us expand our reach. It helps us expand our resources. Time and energy is limited when you are one
Mhm.
person, but when you can multiply yourselves to many folks who are subject matter experts in other areas, it
Mhm.
really exponentially increases our ability to provide quality services. So, for instance, we've partnered with the CTA Foundation, which is an extension of the Consumer Electronics Showcase. So, we've been able to help test out new technology and provide feedback from users who experience disabilities and access technology in different ways. We have a really wonderful network of community employers who are open and willing to learn and hire people with disabilities and recognize what great employees they make. So we really work hard to maintain and make those connections in the community because it only makes us do better work.
I love that. I mean, when we think about nonprofits, I think that's the best thing you can do is find partners, right? We just talked about that whole gala that we're hosting.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing that I've been telling the organization is now we're not here just to raise money.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to build relationships
Yeah.
because the relationship that we build today will provide so much more, years down the line. So I think that sometimes, and of course, because of the funding cuts, everyone's trying to just raise some funds.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people also need to remember building relationships, right? Don't just think that it's about asking, but it's about that storytelling aspect. It's about letting people know, what you've done and what you continue to do. I don't think people buy into that. So I love some of the things that you guys are doing as well on the performing arts. I'm a performing arts head, okay? I used to do
Yes.
theater. So when I hear that you guys are incorporating that, I
Yeah.
love that. I think we need more of that everywhere, right? Like the music, the singing, the dancing, the actual artwork.
Mm-hmm.
I love the whole curating their own movie through like what?
Yeah.
Never heard of that. Okay, this is definitely unique. We also, when you talk about just the spaces that we're in, right? We have some challenging times. We talked about the government funding being cut, but we also have innovation when it comes to AI and what people are doing in that space. Because I've actually heard an organization that because of funding had to cut 40, maybe 40 roles,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're like, okay, we had to cut 40 roles, but how can we still move forward as if we didn't cut 40 roles,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a lot of people are thinking AI, the automations, the system. Is that something that you guys are working on, maybe on the back end, on the front end? What does that look like for your organization?
Yeah, I mean, definitely administratively, the leadership team, and we're definitely exploring ways to be more efficient and ways to
Hmm.
be, good stewards of time and resources. So that's always on our radar as far as what tools can we use to help us in that way. But also for person served, there's a lot of technology out there that can be really helpful to people who experience challenges. And for us, it's really on that end more about digital citizenship and not just the access to the technology and how to use it, but also just that awareness of what does it mean to share my information or to use technology or to engage with things in that way. So really about education from all angles.